You're going to feel earthed and grounded with this guy. This incredible gentleman went from Leeds lad, in construction, working hard, moving up the ladder, and he had a bit of an experience. Let's call it the triangular experience. He's going to explain it later. But this incredible experience shifted his mindset, shifted his heart set, and he started to follow a path that was different to where he'd been. So he moved, and he's going to tell you all about his story now. He moved from construction to coaching, from digging in the ground to digging in the mind. This guy has recently just built his coaching business based upon something that he experienced with the beautiful Amy Crumpton. If you were here on Monday, let me know if you were here on Monday and you met with Amy. She was such an inspiration. She talked to us about her experience from going from 30 grand in debt, going all the way to like 50 grand months, and now teaching people how to do that step by step and loving launching. Well, this guy gets the pleasure of living with her, and she gets the pleasure of living with him. So let's bring to the stage the beautiful, the earthly, the masculine, Mr. Chris Fawcett. Can we all clap in the chat for Mr. Chris Fawcett, Leeds lad? Loving that we've got a lad on this morning. We've got two actually today. But give us some claps. Give us some claps. Are you there? Yay! You might need to unmute.
I'm in. I believe I'm in. Can you hear me okay? Everything good?
I can hear you. How are you doing?
I am amazing. Thank you. And thank you for that awesome introduction. I don't think I've had an introduction like that before. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, speaking after Laura as well, you know, I know Laura a little bit as well. So yeah, what a joy today is. It's full of Leeds legends, as I described it yesterday.
Leeds legends. I know. We literally have got like, never mind this London personal development and like over in Las Vegas and the California scene. Have you ever seen anyone go Leeds, Leeds, Leeds?
And I hope today as well, I also bring a little bit of feminine energy as well. I like to blend between the two as well. So I think we'll have a really, really, really good day. So lovely to meet you all. And I can't wait to share my experiences with you, understand a little bit more about what you are all doing and where you're all at in the world. And yeah, if we can help, then amazing. So thank you.
So cool. So cool. Thank you for being here. So I know you caught a bit of Laura there, and during the week we met your beautiful fiance Amy. And we've been kind of going through this series, this wounds to wisdom to wealth, how our inner whether they come from, like, let's call them childhood wounds, or whether they come from something that's hit us and it's created adversity, whether we've failed at something, or we've been embarrassed about something, or we've just not felt right in our skin with something. When we face that, whether we faced it consciously or it's come and slapped us across the face, we've been able to kind of shift that into wisdom. And when we actually use that wisdom and start applying it, we can create this wealth in the world. And what we've seen is this wealth is actually a richness of the heart, a richness of generosity. And when we start moving towards that way, we don't just help ourselves, we actually start helping everybody else, and we create this ripple effect. And time again, we've seen this through these interviews, and your story is no different, you know, yet it is very different also. And I'd love you to kind of tell us who you are today, so that we can kind of see, you know, who is Chris Fawcett as we meet him, and then we're kind of going to go back and see where he's come from and how he got here.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting way to do it. So I am a breakthrough coach. I live in Leeds, or Wakefield, should I say, with the beautiful Amy, who is my amazing fiance. And now, ultimately, I help women and men break through, break through those limiting beliefs, break through those challenges, and break through those experiences and things that are holding us back from the world and from everything that we're capable of achieving. And over the last couple of years, as we'll delve into a little bit, it's forged me into this human being I am now, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm on a really, really good path. Life is for living, and I've got a tattoo on my left foot, and it's live life like you mean it. And it's very powerful to me. I don't really look at it as much now, but I've just thought about it in this moment. And if we live life to the fullest, or like we mean it, we're going to give it everything that we've got, or everything that we think we've got at that point in time. And it's really important to me to be giving everything I can, and to be also giving everything I can to myself as well, and ensuring that my energies are protected, so that I can give even more to clients and friends and family and things like that. And I think as we delve back into my past with the triangle, the triad, we'll understand a little bit more about why I'm here today, and who I am ultimately as well. And I think I'll probably learn a few things along the way as well as we go back. And so I'm really excited as well to understand a little bit more about my history.
It's great because, this is exactly what's happened with everyone, as we have this dialogue. This is a live dialogue. It's not, like black and white. We actually were uncovering our own hearts as we're moving, and it's beautiful. So thank you for mentioning that. But I love that. Live life like you mean it. How often do we not even really remember we're living life?
Yeah.
We don't slow down enough. Like Laura said, take 5 minutes for yourself today and just ask yourself, am I being true to myself? And you've got live life like you mean it. So what does life mean to you, Chris Fawcett? Take us back. Take us back to little Chris.
Okay, so I'll just share one thing as well, and I've just had a little realization about this, and living life like you mean it, especially if there's business owners here today. I don't know if there's business owners and lots of business owners, and something I've learned over the last couple of years is taking time for me, as Laura mentioned as well. Taking time for me allows me to become a better person and to push myself and improve myself. But in turn, it allows me to create a better business that allows me to help people on a much greater and bigger scale and more impactful. Whereas what I found in the employment world is everything is like sucked out of you. I felt like my life was being sucked out of me. And for me, living life like I mean it is living life on my terms and in my control. So I eat when I want, I sleep when I want, I exercise more than I've ever done. We have lunch together, and those little things, we're not in the place where we want to be, but those little things make me happy. They allow me to feel fulfilled because I am living life how I want. And that's one of the most powerful things. It's just doing what you want on a day-to-day basis, because that's life, isn't it? Every day is like the best day ever.
I love that. Every day is the best day ever. It really is. And it's like you said, it's little things like I can have lunch with Amy if I want, I can exercise when I want, I can get up when I want, but it's not always that simple. Like many of us know, including myself, we've worked in big industry, in corporate, we've been under an employer one way or another. And like you said, it takes it out of us. We're like a robot, going through a system. So bring us back to that young lad, who he was.
I think there's something important to share as well, and we're talking about wounds.
We're not going back then. Go on.
Yeah, no, we are. No, we are. And it doesn't feel like a wound to me, but I was adopted at, I found out the other day, about 3 months. So I don't know my biological parents. I've no real interest to, and I don't. My parents didn't know the situation. So I was fostered for a couple of months in North Leeds from birth, and then my mum and dad sort of got me, picked me up, however you want to describe it, at about 3 or 4 months old. So I've lived with my, obviously parents as I know them. They're the only thing I know, obviously since I've known about it. So I'd say
Wow.
I don't know any different,
When
than
did you
that.
find out?
I was probably around. I was young. I was like 3 or 4. I was always told I was not special as in special, but I was like a little bit different. And I've known all my life. I didn't maybe necessarily understand it until I was like 10 or 11 or whatever I may have been. But I've always known that I was adopted. My mum always said, when we got you, and that didn't really make sense until I was a little bit older. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's a wound, but because I don't know what living with my biological parents feels like, so I don't know what that feels like for other people. But for me, I see it as empowering.
Right.
But I've probably had to do a lot of work on that journey, I would say, to get there.
Interesting. Because and there's some people in our community, I don't know if they're live with us today, but certainly that I've worked with in our community that are in a similar situation and say exactly the same thing. It doesn't feel like a wound because it feels so normal, but somewhere in the psychology is, as you're growing up and you're having to kind of process that, well, I am different and I'm different to everyone out there, and it's similar to being racially different. It's similar to being culturally different. It's different one way or another. And there's something inside of the soma. We talked about the body yesterday with Tamu, and that picks up on that, and especially as a young child. And we don't always see how that affects as we go along. But like you're saying, there's stuff that you just start talking about it and you realize that, oh, that could be part of this, or that could be part of that, and it's just a general inquiry. But that's beautiful for you to share that. Thank you so much for gifting us with that, that openness. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's important, certainly when you're telling a story, that is the start of the story. There's probably a backstory, which to be honest, I'm not really. I could have had opportunities where I could have found my biological parents if they're still around. I've no idea. But for me, ultimately, my parents couldn't have children for one way or another, and I'm I'm the next best thing. So I think it's been quite a good experience. And my dad's not here anymore, but my I get on so well with my mum, and we have some interesting conversations about life and how things are moving forward, and we have some good fun. There's myself and my mother. So.
Oh, that's very beautiful to hear. Thank you. And so share with us. So you've got this very strong love bond, like you're talking about, with your parents. How did that shape you as you grow up? And like you shared with me, you were in construction for a while. How did that start to kind of come about?
So, again, thinking back, and like you said, I'm having some realizations, but I've always been, and I shared this with you, I've always been really positive. And, now I don't just believe in being a positive thinker, because there's a bit more behind the positive thinking than just being hopeful. We need to understand things.
Yeah.
But I've always had that mindset, of being positive, looking at the positive outlook on finding a way or a solution, or thinking that we can do it. But then again, looking back, I was a quite a big child. I'm like 13 stone now, and I was probably 13 stone at 10 or 12. I was a really big kid, and it took me a lot of time, probably till I was about mid 20s, early 20s, to get over that belief that I could never be in shape. And I remember certain things. I walked past the fence to some football fields the other day, and we was on a walk with Amy. And I remember looking at this palisade fence, with the spikes and things like that around schools and things. And I looked at this fence and I thought, how could I not get over that? But what I was doing always was reinforcing myself that I couldn't do it. And I remember almost crying to some extent when I was a child and wanting to go play football, that I couldn't climb over this fence. And I was like, I can't do it. And I was always reinforcing that negative belief in me that certain things I couldn't do. So although I had quite a positive outlook on life, there was some real strong limiting beliefs holding me back that I've had to fend off over the years to get to this point now where, I do believe anything is ultimately possible. within, well, yeah.
How did that shift for you though? Like you're saying, I was positive, yeah, but inside there was these negative beliefs coming through. I love that as well, that we all do that. Somewhere along the line we see a picture or we see something and it triggers, doesn't it, like a memory, and it shows us how far we've gone, how far we've grown. But how did you start to shift those then, and how did that kind of bring you into like what you were doing before what you're doing now?
Okay. So through like school and university, I was very much focused on, right, I'm going to get into construction. I want to be a construction manager. I was quite goal orientated and vision driven. I've always been probably older than I am. I always like hung around with like 3 or 4 groups of people that were 3 or 4 years older than me. So I went traveling at 18. I went off to Australia and did like 5 months around Australia. I nearly didn't come back, which is another story. And there's so much going on. I went back to university, and again, I was always like not one step ahead, but I was always striving for a little bit more. And that then brought me into construction, where I was a little bit naive, shall we say, when I entered. And I turned up to my first day with a tie on and trousers and a shirt, and my boss said to me, never ever turn up in a tie again, because not only does it look silly, you could actually get caught in some machinery and something like that and actually cause yourself some sort of injury or death. So safe to say, I didn't wear a tie again, but I was very very naive for a certain amount of months. And he was the guy who said I was too positive for construction, because he'd been ingrained and trodden on for the last 25 years almost, of people not doing what they say they were going to do, people not performing as they would, and people doing things wrong. And I came in this fresh-faced, happy young engineer who didn't really know a great deal, and it was a shock to his system. He was going through some real big family problems, and I was just this enthusiastic person, just annoying him, really, to be honest.
Yeah, get your smile out of my face.
That was it. Yeah, he just didn't want to know.
It's interesting because we shared this. I was like, my experience in life has been very much around construction, very much around that kind of energy of you don't wear a tie. I mean, I can just see it now, the laughter of who's this little lad coming in with a great smile on his face, dressed up straight out of university, thinking this is going to be great crack. Take it off, you're going to get muddy, and wipe that smile off your face. This is down to earth, lad. None of that happy clappy stuff for you.
Yeah.
And so how did that shift you? Because what you're saying is, I'm a positive lad, I'm going into this industry with big visions, big ideas, I'm going to make something of myself, and you're straight in there and it's like, no.
Yeah. Well, it got me in trouble quite a lot. It got me in trouble because A, I was really enthusiastic, and B, I always believed in people, and that's that's not always the best way to be. Hopeful
in that industry.
Yeah. I learned eventually to plan for all eventualities. So I would expect the best, but I would also prepare for the worst, and that has taken me a lot of years, because I always just expected the best and didn't have a backup plan. And when the proverbial hit the fan, I was left in a situation where I couldn't give an answer. I couldn't follow through with something. So, over the last couple of years, I've learned to expect the best, obviously, and aim for the best, but also be aware that that best may not happen, and just have something in the background so that if it does happen, you've got something up your sleeve.
You've got something up your sleeve.
So it took me about 7 years to learn that.
Well, take us into the construction then. So you were in a pretty big business. You were kind of working your way through this kind of mentorship, kind of working your way to ideally grow yourself up the hierarchy, quite a masculine hierarchy.
Yeah.
And what did you find as you grew? Like you said, there's not much positivity in terms of the psychology there. It's very, let's build this up. but you stay where you are personally. So what happened for you on that journey?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and it really is, because you're expected to grow and get better, but it's not like in personal development. It's not you getting better as a human being. It's you becoming better in the role. And yeah, don't get me wrong, there are certain areas where obviously you need to learn, you need to get better at life management, time management, punctuality, and all of those great things that you ideally want to be good at anyway. But in terms of development as a manager or a leader, that was like non-existent. We were just expected to just figure it out. And sometimes, yeah. And I figured it out. I worked for a really big company. Built some huge buildings in Leeds and Bradford and York and things like that. Some schools, which is amazing, because whenever I drive past them now, there's a legacy. I get to see the schools, and Bradford College was my first project. It was like a £50 million project. So just to put some context on it, I didn't know what I was doing. I was very enthusiastic. I was in a tie, and I was on the biggest project I ever worked on. So to say I was out of my depth slightly at that point in time was probably true, but pulled through. I got through it, and I came through it. But towards the end of my career, I felt like I was outgrowing the industry at a quick rate. I was going at this pace in terms of my hierarchical stature, maybe, if we would just describe it like that, in terms of earnings and where I was within the business. But in terms of where I was going as a human being was like this. And there came this disconnect of, I want more time, I want to be able to give more, I want to be able to do more and become more, but I'm being restricted by the job I'm in.
Yeah. And by the people.
Yes. Yeah. Ultimately the company was designed as the last company I worked for. They wanted to make some money and have a happy retirement, and that's wonderful for them. But I was doing 12, 13-hour days, driving all over the country for 40 grand a year, and I couldn't do it anymore. Yeah, I was exhausted, and I couldn't even see the future. And where we're going in a moment was, there was this pivotal question that my last boss ever asked me. And he said, "What do you want from 2019?" And I was so exhausted and so tired and so consumed by the job, because it was intense. I couldn't answer him. And I thought I had everything lined up. I thought I had everything planned out in my head about what I wanted to do, what I wanted to earn. And the limit was there. The ceiling was here, and I couldn't see past the ceiling. And it took us going to Australia for 5 weeks for me to actually understand who I wanted to become, and that was a big part as well. So
big shift. So go in the chat and share with us, when you have been in a situation, and I know a few of you in the audience live have worked in big business or in corporate business, definitely before you've been kind of where you are now, that you fell, or even not in that, maybe in like another role, or in a family or in a relationship, where you felt like you're growing internally at a rate that is bigger than the relationship, than the role, than the business that you're in, and that the values are not fully aligning. We've all been in that sort of situation one way or another. I mean, Laura mentioned it even just really in the last few weeks. She's like, I moved into a brand new house with my fiance, and I am now leaving that because it didn't align with my values. So I want us to kind of all have a look at, where in our lives have we done that? I know I have. I've been in corporate as well. I've been in recruitment, and very similarly to you, incredibly enthusiastic, not an idea in the world, and just was like, oh my gosh, I'm ace, it's brilliant. And then they're like, yeah, but what if that fails? What if that backup plan, where's the backup plan? How does that? And it was all because they wanted an agenda of money, the money to serve the business to serve the economy to serve the government to serve something else. And this agenda comes all the way down the line. And what I'm hearing from you, and what, you know, the audience now and on the VIP can be listening to, is these big companies have such a big agenda pulled all the way back that you're not developed as a person. You don't have the heart. You're not allowed the heart, because you are there on time. You paid on time. You go in, you know, go on the motorway, do the job. And like you said, they're in the biggest job of your life, building this beautiful building that beautifully has a legacy now, but a bit, you know, a bit naive. And 7 years later, you're so exhausted that you can't even see your future. They've literally, like you said, sucked the energy out of you. And I know Tash, I know Ali, I know there's a few of you in this audience that have been in that situation one way or another. And Chloe's like, yeah, it can feel confusing, unsettling, because you're not sure where you fit, but you want to create a new path. So take us, you sat there, and I mean, I saw it happen in your face again. You just went, oh, I don't know. So you decided to go to Australia.
Yes.
And Amy mentioned a little bit about this in hers, so we're quite excited to see how this fuses.
Okay, so this is amazing, because actually there's quite a vital part that we've missed out here, and it's the triad, because there's a small section here that I just wanted to touch on, and ultimately there's been driving me over the last 3 or 4 years now. And you know, Amy and I, if any of you know Amy, we traveled South America. So I left the company, the big company that I was with, and we set off on a journey to Central and South America, and you know, a journey of, you know, finding ourselves and all this kind of thing. And it was incredible. And we actually booked onto a San Pedro ceremony, which is a plant medicine, if everyone's aware of that. And it was amazing. We booked it in the most magnetic point of Cusco, which is Sacred Valley. An incredible experience. Did a 2-day fast, for, you know, straight off the back of an 80-kilometer hike around Machu Picchu. So to say we were underprepared but overprepared and a little bit in the middle of it all was quite a definitely something to be said. And this 8-hour experience, San Pedro experience, was life-changing, and I talk about it still today, because that was driving me, and I felt that was almost, it set my values in place. And again, I think values and beliefs are the most powerful things around, aren't they? Because your beliefs and values drive you. And I came to this experience, and it was this triad towards the end, and ultimately I came and I visualized this love, health, and happiness triangle, and it came to me, and it's like, you need to live by love, health, and happiness. And it's just, it was a unspeakable kind of experience, but I felt guided. All my skin was tingling for like weeks afterwards when I was in the sun, and I'd been in the sun for 8 months by this point, so the sun didn't faze me. You know, I like being in the sun, but I felt like I was connected to something. And that dwindled away a little bit towards, you know, obviously moving on, but the feeling there, the feeling was there, the values, the drive, the inner feeling behind me to move me forward of this love, health, and happiness. And I think when I look back at, you know, the experience of working in the company and having everything sucked out of me, caused this misalignment in me. And when we went to Australia, you know, we'd usually be in the bar having a few beers before a flight, and I actually shared this photo last night. I was in WH Smith's in Dover Airport with a big bottle of water, buying as many books as I could possibly find. And I think about 3 or 4 books in the airport on the way, which one of them was The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. And it's just a great book. But for me, it was life-changing, because I started thinking about things, my mind cleared, and I started opening up. And it allowed me to gain the clarity that I needed in order to start designing my life. And that was the most powerful thing. I've still got it here in my drawer. I've still got the journal, you know, with a goal that's set for the end of this year. And I'm not a million miles away, you know, and there's things guiding me. And it was just a wonderful experience with being able to get away and start to create that belief and confidence. But clarity was the key thing that I needed, because I was just so fogged with somebody else's business.
So I kind of want to presence that, because I've felt that too. Being fogged with somebody else's business, being fogged with somebody else's dream, somebody else's beliefs, somebody else's values, whether that be like somebody else being in a relationship, somebody else being a boss, somebody else being a parent. Go in the chat and let us know, have you ever lived in that space where you're living in somebody else's world? And yet what you're saying is, actually, when I took some time for myself, when I got away from it, for you, it was kind of going traveling or, literally moving yourself away from it. You could get that peace, that clarity, open up and start to see, wow, I have a say here too. I get to design my life too. I get to actually move forward with what I want to. So, okay, we can now see Chris kind of going, oh, hold on a minute. I get to do what I want to do, and I'm buying these books, personal development books, opening my mind books, no beers in the, with the duty, big bottle of water. Shit's changing. So what happened next? Because, as you started to kind of move through, let's be really clear here. This is a Leeds lad, being in construction, working really hard, being taken up and up the ladder. Yeah, he's opening up his heart, but, the company's squashing him. And now he's getting this opportunity to actually see who he is himself. Who is he? Who was he? Who did you birth?
Well, it's we're still learning. I'm still certainly learning that one. But yeah, it all started then. Amy had just started her business in terms of her coaching business. She just invested massively, and it was really interesting because we were coming back to buy a house. So we were going away for 5 weeks. I had a job. She just invested tons of money in a coach, and it was like, whoa, this is all a bit like crazy. We're going away for 5 weeks to Australia to just have a blast. And she was like, I think she had a first ever discovery call on like whilst we were in Australia, and I just spent all my time journaling, writing down, reading. We were out having a great time, but whenever it was raining or something like that, I'd be reading, I'd be journaling, I'd be mapping things out, I'd be listening to things on YouTube, and it was a really interesting, amazing experience. So we came back. And I was all over the place with my timings, and we came back on the Thursday, and I woke up at like 3 a.m. on the Friday or something like that. We were living at my mum's at the time, and I bought UPW tickets to Tony Robbins' Unleash Your Power Within. Like, boom, I'm doing it. Didn't have any holidays left, so I knew just find a way because I'd used them all in January, and I signed up for a free session with a Tony Robbins coach at that point. So I was like, right, I'm going all in. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to see what happens. And that was the start of my journey, really, on my real proper personal development journey. And then it all started.
Tony, to be fair, Tony's been the start of a lot of people's personal development journey. He is the ultimate in heal yourself and heal those around you, isn't he? He's the ultimate seed in this wounds to wisdom to wealth, and he talks about it so much. He is that, poster guy for clearing your shite so you can walk into the light.
100%, yeah. And as it is, it's everything is an amazing business person, is an amazing human being, but then he's also incredible at helping you deal with like all the negative stuff or positive stuff, depending on how you want to look at it. All the negative allows you to create something new, doesn't it? So going through the negative, the emotion or the challenge allows you to come out the other side and see that light and experience that life at a different level. And that was like the start of the journey. I got my coach and went to UPW and handed my notice in on the transformation day on the Saturday. So I texted my boss and just said, I'll be leaving in a month's time. And, on a wing and a prayer, I don't advise any clients to do that now. Just left with £300 in the bank. But I needed to get out of there.
You're at UPW, you're on transformation day, you've got 300 quid in the bank, you're living at your mum's house. Amy's just invested what she told us, the other day, is like basically $12,000 to work with this woman that she's like, I've literally had one call with her. And you're like, and we need to buy a house. I think I'm going to have my notice in
That's it. That was it. And it was, you know, there was some conversations going back and forth in our house, that's for sure. And, you know, I remember saying to Amy, you know, when she said to me, you know, what shall I do about this, coach? I said, well, and I said quite specifically, before I knew how to use the English language effectively and communicate in a much more effective fashion, I said it has to work. And I said it like that. I didn't, not in a negative way or a positive way. I just said, this must work. And she took that on, and, you know, she's absolutely smashing it. So
Yeah.
we're making a massive impact at the same time. So,
Yeah.
you know, that conversation helped. And we're all moving forward. So, you know, we just moved into our house then. And yeah, I just had to leave. I had to get out of there because I had the clarity then, and I had some belief, and I had a little bit of confidence in it, and it allowed me to move forward, and it allowed me to take action because I knew it would be okay. I just didn't have the plan. So yeah.
Oh gosh, get that in the chat. I knew it would be okay, but I just didn't have the plan.
Yeah.
How many of us, and Laura mentioned this as well, you know, how many of us are just like, it's going to be okay. I don't have the plan. And look, Geraldine's saying, I love this story. Of course you do. You know, Geraldine's been in construction herself as well with her family. You know, and I kind of want to bring this home to the people that are in the audience live and everyone that's watching. See yourself in this story that, you know, to be really clear. How old are you, Chris?
At 31 now.
31. Young guy. Career mapped out for him essentially. Yeah. You know, looking good on the outside, in a decent industry, ready to kind of be, as much as it might sound a bit miserable on the inside, he'll be taken up the ladder. It's going to be all right. You're going to go up the ladder. But to go up the ladder, you've kind of got to sell yourself a bit. The heart doesn't go up the ladder with you. And so you get to this point where, you know, you're in this ceremony where actually the heart starts to go, we don't want to go up the ladder. We've got this triangle we want you to follow. And, you know, it's this love, health and happiness. And from there, you're compelled to start kind of investing in yourself, in your heart, in your growth, you know, in your partnership, in your own well-being. And that kind of sparks you into that confidence. Like you said, I had a little bit of confidence to take a leap without knowing that there's going to be a net.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. There was no clients. I jumped and no one really caught me. So...
Don't say that. We're trying to inspire them to jump.
No, but the parachute popped out at the last minute, and the plan actually became a long game. You know, I had this amazing vision of, I'm just going to get loads of clients straight away. Wonderful. If that had have happened, I wouldn't have learned everything I've learned along the way. I might not have been here today because it would have panned out differently. So I look back at the last 2 years, and maybe in comparison to other people, which I don't really do, it's been a slower journey than other people. However, the things I've learned and done throughout the last 2 years, which is coming up to 2 years now, has been incredible. And the things that I'm going on to do, and as Tony says, you know, if anyone knows Tony Robbins, you know, you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10. And I think even though I knew that, I didn't consciously know it, and I knew it theoretically, and that's what's happening. I'm building up momentum now to go further, faster, and create this bigger impact as well. So it's all good. You know, I look back at that, and I've had an amazing 2 years. Like lockdown, you know, we were talking about lockdown. Brilliant. You know,
talk to us about what happened in this last 2 years, because, you know, tell the audience who you are now and what has actually literally come from that jumping and who you've had to become to get here.
So around June, I think it was June. Yeah, it was June actually. Amy was on, I tell a story because Amy was on she got a first VIP day with a client, and I wasn't working at this point, and we were going to Manchester to stay in a real nice hotel and stay over. And I was sat on the train, and I thought, it was about 5:15. I thought I need to go back into construction and get some freelance work. get some money in, and it would allow me to then do my master practitioner of NLP and this, that, and the other. So within 15 minutes, I'd had an email from a recruiter saying, would you like 12 weeks work? And I didn't actually see it until about 8 p.m, but it was 15 minutes after I literally said the words, I need to get a job, you know, whether it's for a few weeks or a few months. And that was the start of a really funny time. So this was all June 2019. The job I actually ended up on was with a project manager who I'd worked with at my old company. So I knew him. So I had 10 weeks work, amazing. 6 weeks into that, I'd got a phone call again from another recruiter saying, would you like to come and speak to us about a year's worth of work? And I said, absolutely, yeah, thank you very much. You know, pretty much name what you want to earn. You know, I was earning the best I could within, you know, that role. Didn't have to do a great deal of work, which allowed me to then start putting mental health and wellbeing workshops on for free within my role. So I was speaking to like 50 and 60 guys at the time on a Monday morning who really did not want to be there.
I think that's the key, isn't it? It's like, and I went into the role thinking, I can practice my NLP and my special mindset stuff. And they're like, what?
Yeah. But it was really, it was so funny. So the second one I hosted, should I say, I hosted it on the first day back after Christmas last year, knowing full well it's the most challenging day ever for anyone who's going back onto a cold, wet business construction site. And I held it at 8 a.m. on Monday the 6th. And we'd spent the weekend in London, so I was like writing it on the train on the way back. And I purposely put it on that because I knew that everyone would be tired, everyone would be a little bit negative or a bit down. And the response was limited, shall we say, from the audience. There was 65 people in there. But what I managed to do was get everybody to think. So no one said anything in the workshop, but people for about 2 weeks after me were coming up to me. Oh, I started losing weight. I've been running. I've been on a date night with my wife. You know, when we used to be able to go out, you know, to restaurants and things. And people were coming up to me and stopping me at the side of the road and in the where we were working and speaking to me and asking me questions. So I'd managed to influence them without them even knowing, in a positive way, obviously, to make them think. And I said, I'm here to help you start thinking maybe just slightly differently. And that's what happened. You know, there were people making big changes in their life because they just started thinking in a slightly different way.
So beautiful. And it really is, you know, drop in the chat, you know, we've all been in that situation where we've not come forward in a workshop. Even now, you know, and the live attendees, you know, coming into the chat, we don't always take place in the moment, but sometimes the penny drops, and it drops later because a lot of us don't want to face what we're feeling. We don't want to face what we're revealing through hearing other people's stories. And yet yesterday we were talking with Denise about actually when we reveal what it is that we're feeling, we give permission to other people to do the same. And it becomes this conversation that we can now actually go deeper, and we're allowing kind of that growth. But certainly in the industry you're talking about, predominantly male.
Yeah.
You know, and let's go there, you know, a bit of toxic masculinity in there, very kind of close it down. We're not going to go and talk about this stuff. And yet that kind of shows up in the body, it shows up in the relationships, it shows up in their health, their work, their happiness. And so you'd had this inkling, oh, I'm going to bring this into the workplace. And just like with Laura, you know, you could have felt flat, like, oh, the response was limited. Shit. But people are coming out of the woodwork to share. So what started to spur from that for you?
Just that there is hope. You know, if you can connect to people that, let's be honest, didn't want to be connected with, if you can influence people to think, and, you know, and not just consciously think, unconsciously think. And that was the idea. That was the whole idea behind it, where they would go away and there would be something ticking. There would be something, there could be a cog turning that wouldn't have turned before, and just helping people just start looking at life in a slightly different way. And, I wasn't going in there saying, you can go off and set up businesses. It was more of you can feel better within yourself, which will allow you to gain clarity. So you may be in the wrong role, you may be in the wrong job, you may be better as an employee, you may be better as a business owner. I wasn't saying any of that, but what I was allowing people to do was have that openness within themselves so that they could think and they could.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah. And it was really powerful. And there was a couple of people I did some one-to-one coaching with, some young lads that were struggling and struggling because we were just about to go into lockdown. This was like last January as well. So it really did spark off so many things for me, and the fact that I could help other people outside of that industry as well. And that's how things started flourishing. As I stopped working on site and went full-time in my business, I was like, wow, I can do all these other things. I can communicate with all these other types of people. And as I've grown, it's sort of moving, not necessarily away from men, but having maybe a more positive spin of working with women as well. So it's been a journey, and I like I said, I'm still on that journey of finding out what I do best. But certainly where I'm at right now, it's helping people to start that belief and understand what's been holding them back, and then ridding that belief and moving forward. So yeah, it's exciting. It's just great.
It is exciting, and I want you to go in the chat because let's place some context here. This is a young guy who's just starting to move into his own business, having left what essentially is a comfortable position that a lot of us from the outside again can be like, what are you leaving that for? You've got a ladder to success. And actually what we're doing here is looking at the heart comes first, this health, this happiness, and and this love, for want of a better word, and construction and love don't go together very well.
Very rarely.
and yet we have this conversation, and I've mentioned this to a few people before, but I'll bring it in now. My father runs a construction company, or did, and my brothers both run construction companies, and they are incredibly masculine, and there's a lot of camaraderie, there's a lot of kind of beefing it up and pretending that they know better than the other one, and then a little bit of kind of drinking culture and keeping it to themselves, not really being vulnerable. And yet this world that we're living in now is actually calling for us all, whether it doesn't matter what industry we're in, calling for us all to be more authentic, to be more vulnerable. Lockdown has shown that mental health, that emotional health, that spiritual health is incredibly important, just as well as physical and financial health. And so I said this to you, I was like, I'm going to put you in touch with a load of people that I know that are, young construction guys that need to hear this from you, not from a girl, not from a woman, not from the usual sources, but from somebody that's been there and is going through it. And I think what you're doing in the world is leading that generation into their own awareness that it's okay to start putting your heart first, regardless of where you're coming from. And then actually when you start putting that heart first, you can open other hearts, and actually the business starts to grow. It's not about the scaffolding anymore, it's about the relationship that you're building with the guys that are going to give you that, and then what goes on from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's something that's just popped into my mind actually, and it's really funny because I now coach one of my old bosses, who was my project manager. He's in New Zealand, so I coach him and his wife together. So they're in New Zealand, and he's now managed to leave his full-time construction job. She's a beautician, and they've set up a beauty brand online with online training together. So I've managed to get him out of what he didn't necessarily love doing. And they've now created a business together, and this business only started last February. She had the idea that this is what I want to do, and I've been coaching them independently, and now I coach them both together because that's their sole focus. And one of my other clients, who's a construction, is a landscaping contractor. I've just spoke to his wife yesterday about coaching her, so I'm going to be coaching two like power couples effectively moving forward. And it's amazing actually coaching one on like construction and the other on marketing, because I've got the experience in all sectors sort of thing now, but I've got the emotional intelligence from the construction industry, and that, like you said, that allows me to connect with people on a deeper level and be able to really, really understand certain things. But something I learned is you must have been there. You don't have to have been there financially, but you must have been there emotionally. You must have experienced it emotionally and mentally, so that you can guide somebody on their journey. And I think that's important, and that's that authenticity. If I felt like I was out of my depth with somebody, I wouldn't coach them, because I've not been there emotionally, maybe. And I think that's really important as we all set off on this journey, is to really deepen that emotional, not even intelligence, but emotional power, if you want to describe it as something like that.
And the emotional maturity, I think something that has come out of a lot of these conversations, where we're looking at this thread, is what is the wound, and so many of us are now seeing that, this word wound, actually, it's a perpetual growth place. The wound could be, we could look at our childhoods, like I said before, or we could look at a moment in time where we felt, like you said, oh, I can't cope with this anymore. I can't do this. I don't know what 2019 is for me, because I don't know who I am right now. And yet also the wound could be something literally like you're saying, I've worked in this industry for so long, I don't know anything different. I'm stuck, but I've got an idea. And yet, if you've been through something, and we both know, being in the personal development industry, when you've been through something, the best thing to do is to start teaching what you've experienced, so that you're listening to yourself again and you're re-experiencing teaching yourself again, but also you're gifting that experience to somebody else, and it doesn't have to be all worked out. I think this is what you're proving to us, this beauty of, I'm in it right now. I'm reporting from the inside. I'm not on the stage with Tony Robbins. I'm not, a $1 billion personal development brand. I'm in it. I'm a 31-year-old guy who took a chance. I jumped off the cliff. The parachute fucking opened towards the end. Thank God. And I'm like looking around myself, going, okay, this is what I can offer right now. So how you're packaging that at the moment, like you said, is through this, is it a 12-week program of Find Your Confidence?
Yes, it's all about helping women find clarity, create the clarity, start building that inner self-belief and let go of limiting beliefs, and really start to create that internal confidence as well, so that you can go ahead and even dream it. And you can then start to take the action that you need, start seeing results, and ultimately living life like you mean it, and living life on your terms. So that's where I'm at right now, is this group program, which is amazing. It's and they're the three things that I've understood over the last couple of years with women, especially, and men, that I went through as well. That belief, clarity, and confidence are the three things that we seem to struggle with. And once connected, and once they all allow each other to move forward. Once you gain the clarity, it allows you to believe, and it allows you to then build that confidence. So that's it's really, really powerful. Just really quickly as well, and as we're talking about being in the moment, my old boss, who said I was too positive, he said all you need to do is, when you stood next to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, you just need to learn quicker than them. So if I'm stood looking at a drawing or an iPad or on a wall, or something's gone wrong, all I needed to do was learn faster than the person next to me, and they would believe that I knew the answer.
Love it.
And that's what I did, and that's what I take through. I always believe that I can find a way. So even with a client or in any situation, I always believe there's an answer, and I always believe that I can find it. So as we're learning and in the moment all the time, I'm always wondering, how can I find a way to answer this or ask that question in a different way? Because I believe, and it allows me to influence, because the person who is most certain influences the other. And we forget that in life.
Okay. Oh my God, two things there. So I get to learn faster than the other person, basically see the solution faster. So that's being in the present moment and being aware. Love that. And that then influences the other person. The other person then comes with you. And so this is something we talk about in leadership. Leaders go first. Leaders don't always know the way, but they go first. They go first, and then they do know the way because they know which way not to go. And, you know, we mentioned this with Laura. I'm going to go there anyway. I'm going to look embarrassed when things don't work out for me. But you know what? I'm going to stand back up and go, okay, I'm on my way again. Just like a kid when they fall over and graze their knee, they don't stay down on the floor forever. They jump back up and crack on.
Yeah.
But what I love, what I super love is that, oh my gosh, I don't have to have it all figured out. I just have to have like that next step figured out. And I think this is for all of us to hear. The next step, and then you're literally just that one step ahead.
That's it.
It's tiny, but it's massive.
It's massive, especially in like this world, massive to the other person, because they then trust you in a good way. They also trust themselves that they can be led. And as yourself, you can lead, leading yourself into battle, but also leading other people as well. And, we must influence ourselves as well, but we also must believe that we can do it. And if we believe that we can do it, we'll find a way. And that's that. I always find a way with someone or whatever I need to do to get to to help them get to where they want to be. So they trust me to help lead them to where they want to go, even though they don't know where they want to go yet.
I'm going somewhere. Well, I want to bring something forward that keeps coming through me when I'm talking with you. And I don't know if this is going to be okay, but I want to kind of bring it through. That right at the beginning, you said, actually, I want to share something that is, I was adopted and I don't really know how that kind of fits in or what, I didn't need to find my parents, etc. And I don't know if that's a wound or what really has occurred. But what is occurring to me as I'm speaking with you and I'm hearing your story more and I'm, seeing your heart more, is that you also said my parents couldn't have children, but they found a way. And you were the next thing. And it's like you're saying, I always find a way. And actually, that is your key. Your key is, I always find a way.
Yeah, I love that. I just got goosebumps. Oh yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, there is always a way to get the result, and that's
and
important.
They got a beautiful result.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think they did all right. I'm certainly having a good go at it, but thank you for that. I never really thought about that. I don't really think about it. Like I say, it's not a thought that runs through my mind that often, but I think in this certain scenario, I think it's quite important to touch on that as it starts the process. It's the start of my journey. But yeah, my parents always found a way. They always found a way to to go on holiday and to have nice things and do certain things and send me on trips and stuff like that. So they always had that belief, although they had certain limitations about business and stuff like that. They always found a way, and that's right. It is right. They did always find a way, and I will always find a way. So thank you.
You will. You'll always find a way. And thank you so much. Look at this. Yes, you've been MK'd.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And it's beautiful. And you have a beautiful heart, coupled with a beautiful smile and a really genuine energy, this beautiful energy. And what was first, too enthusiastic, too positive, too radiant for construction, I believe, and I said this to you on our call before, I believe that is actually going to be what really lights your way. My passion is wounds to wisdom to wealth. And when I speak with people, my expertise is being able to pull that out and give you the wealth plan. And I can see that for you, lighting up, trailblazing this heart open led leadership inside of construction. And I know that we're on our way there at the moment through, just like Laura said, you know, I had to create Urban Cocoa and that failed. Then I created House of Cocoa. Then I created the membership, and the membership didn't quite look like that. And then it went here. There's lots of jumps along the way. And right now, this beautiful step that you are in, this little step to big step, is coaching women on how to get their confidence. But I can absolutely see you influencing them to influence their partners, their husbands, their other significant masculines to come into this heart-led leadership of construction. And I am behind you all the way, mister. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I much appreciate that. And it's you zig and zag in life. And as long as you've got a vision of what you want your life to look like, the business side of things is a segment of that life. I'm quite flexible how I get there. I know what the life looks like. So the zigging and zagging of the business is all good. You know,
the experience, isn't it? It's the journey. It's fun.
And you get to help all sorts of different people along that way, male, female. You know, I love it all. I think it's amazing, and I get such a great response from different people as well. And it's good to have a blend. And at the moment, I'm loving coaching women. So yeah, amazing.
So ladies, if you want to build your confidence, or you want to learn more about Chris Fawcett, we have got, I think we've got a download for them on the dashboard, haven't we? Yeah,
it's actually it's in production right now. So if anyone would like it, it's an awesome workbook. So what would be absolutely amazing is if you just drop me a message and I can send it across to you. So it's being produced like right this moment and just getting finalized. So if you
how do they get hold of you, Chris?
So I was going to say, you can find me on Instagram at Chris Fawcett Coaching, Facebook at Chris Fawcett Coaching, or I can pop my
email as well.
I will put my email address in here, and you can, I'll spell it right, and you can drop me an email. But yeah, if anyone would like it, it's all about helping you gain clarity, confidence, and self-belief. And there's some powerful questions in there as well. It gave me a thing or two to think about when I was actually writing them out. So my email address is in there, and I'd love to speak to you as well and just share anything I can with you. So thank you.
Absolutely. Chris, I love, Chloe's just put, it's in construction. Currently under construction.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just got that.
Give us a smile, Chris, because we're going to tag you on Facebook. So everybody, I want you to take a screenshot of Chris, tag him on Facebook, tag him on Instagram. On Instagram, you are at Chris Fawcett Coaching.
Yeah, at Chris Fawcett Coaching. Yeah. So as I've put my email address in there, it's just the same, Chris Fawcett Coaching.
So everybody, give it up. I want to know first of all what landed for you. What landed for you from Chris, from the over enthusiastic Chris Fawcett.
Still quite enthusiastic Chris Fawcett, with a bit more knowledge and a bit more experience behind him now. So,
no ties. No ties.
No, I haven't won a tie for, I can't remember when I last won a tie. It's been a while, yeah. So yeah, as I say, if there's any questions or you'd like to understand a little bit more about what I'm doing, or just ask anything, and if you would love the workbook as well, I would love to share that with you. So please just drop me a message on any of the platforms available, or email. So much appreciated. Thank you.
So exciting. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I will always find a way. I love it. And I can't wait to kind of connect with you later down the line and see what is out there in the world for you, Chris. Thank you. And a big thank you to Amy as well. Both of you are so inspiring. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Oh my gosh.